What's going on, everybody? Wow, I'm a little bit of a mess, but hey, whatever. Today we're going to be talking about Interstate 9, and for some reason my settings just will never stay the correct way. Today, Interstate 9, California's Route 99 is eventually what this is going to be. So, there's a lot I want to get into in this particular regard, but this is a very technical, very specific video. So if you're not interested in a future interstate highway in California, well, this video isn't going to be for you. But without further ado, the first project that we're going to be talking about was originally slated to be Interstate 7 back in 1991, and this was largely going to be an auxiliary route through the Central California Valley, all the way, or not all the way, but largely paralleling I-5 on the other side of the valley, this being the route of California State Route 99. Relatively decent highway, actually largely expressway throughout the entire way, but it's not to interstate grade overall. And we'll be hitting some of the highlight reel over this, but originally it was supposed to be earmarked as Interstate 7. It later became earmarked for Interstate 9 because they just wanted to take the California 99 and move it to 9. It does make a little bit of a problem for where, if they actually did an Interstate 7 where it would be, but I guess they can free it up to send it anywhere else in the country. I really do think that we're going to see some realignments as far as where some of these highways are, but that is neither here nor there. What the general route here is that we'll get into this quite a bit, and we'll break it down. Let's deploy this over here for a second here. Okay, this is one of the wonderful maps that I've got here. This is the bottom of California 99, and this is what it looks like on Google Maps. This is just outside of Wheeler Ridge, California. This is where I-99 and I-5 split. Now, this is just a little ways south of Bakersfield, which you can see here. By the way, pay attention to Bakersfield because I-40 is probably getting extended all the way there. Now, right now, it goes all the way to Barstow here, but Caltrans has made it to where the California Route 58 has been getting extended through here, and as you can see on the maps, is that this particular area is now being slated to be built up into an expressway, which will connect into the West Side Expressway. Now, California 58 actually does go its own way, but what I do expect is that they are going to extend I-40 all the way out to this junction here with I-5. I do expect that to be a thing over the coming ages, although, as we've seen with this particular project, is that even though this has been earmarked since 1991 with the I-9 upgrade, is that it hasn't been done. So I want to talk about a little bit as to why that is the case, and so I've got a few notes here that I want to bring up here. California 99 was considering the inclusion into the interstate system 3 times. In the late 1950s, when the original state system was designed, they thought this was one of the corridors that was being considered. There was about 98,000 miles of roadway that was considered for the original interstate system. And about 42,000 miles overall were built into the system. I think we're up to about 45 now where we're at. But in the mid-1980s, when Interstate 5 was reconfirmed as the primary interstate route through the Central Valley, basically they wanted to see, they were talking about if they were going to have an auxiliary. The problem with upgrading 99 for the feds is not that it doesn't deserve to be interstate quality, but it doesn't serve the purpose of the interstate. It doesn't honor it. Now, that mentality is changing. Excuse me. Still a little drowsy after all the weather that came through here. If you guys noticed my last video, that was horrible. Anyway, the problem here, in a nutshell, is that having California 99 upgraded to I-9 does not serve the original intent and purpose of the interstate program, that being the communication and ease of goods and services from one state to another. This is going to be entirely within another state. Now, granted, there are spurs that we have seen throughout multiple states, like I-550 or I-465 that goes around cities and whatnot. That is largely there because, one, it makes interstate grade, but it facilitates goods and services at a domestic level that you can access from the interstate system. And so basically the whole idea, if you will, is that the interstate system has these spurs so they can activate what is attached to the spur. There's a couple of ones that are like 100 miles long or about 60 miles long. You can find in like Arkansas and Tennessee where they just spur off of I-55. I think there's two of them in particular. Now that I think about it, largely in the same area, where they spur off of I-55 and you can access these general areas in rural Tennessee and rural Arkansas. And now you're having two major interstates actually go through those areas, and so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But that's the whole purpose, is that these little spurs aren't too much. What we're seeing now is that the United States built itself out largely as the traffic country. We believe we are car country. We don't do trains. We do airplanes, but that's largely long distance. But if you have a car, you can jump in the car and you go wherever the hell you want. Because of this, and because of population growth and all these other things, is that traffic has gotten stupid. And we're now seeing a number of interstates that are absolutely just jam-packed, literally their entire routes. I-35 in Texas, I-5 in California, let alone the whole coast. You have I-95 on the East Coast. A lot of these have multiple lanes. There's at minimum 3 lanes all the way through, and they're still super busy. I-75 throughout most of the country is all 3 lane the entire way through because it's that busy. What we're getting to the point here is either you've got to have 4 lanes on each side to facilitate some of this traffic, or what you have to do is you have to start making auxiliary routes where, hey, you're trying to get here? Well, now you have options. And in case you want to shut down one of the interstates so you can do some major refurbishments, which we're getting into the age where the interstates are that old where they need to have that done, you don't have an option. You have to send them on a state highway or whatever that doesn't meet the grade, doesn't meet the standard, everything gets slowed down. And so what I'm expecting with what I'm dubbing the Interstate 2 program, which is starting to develop, it's not there yet, is that we're going to see more and more interstates, more and more recognized interstates, but more importantly is that they're largely going to be auxiliary routes. Interstate 9 in California will probably be one of those. Interstate 67 through Kentucky, Indiana, and Michigan will also be quite a bit of this. Now, I'm sorry that I'm getting off in a tangent, but what I'm getting here to say is that the methodology of what the interstate system is changing because the country is changing and still growing. And we didn't plan ahead for this. We planned for the original interstate system, and it succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. Interstate program was a massive success. But then we had 1991, and we had the interstate update system. The new, the new Federal Highway Administration Act, something like that. We didn't plan ahead, and more importantly, we didn't fund it. Largely, we just laid out the groundwork. Well, you know what? Interstate 9, we can have that here. Well, originally it was Interstate 7, but we can have it here. This will be where it is, and there's a few other corridors that were earmarked. But we didn't fund it. So it didn't get done. Because interstates are expensive. And the whole point about having an interstate system is you can have states get on board with doing them. Great example, I-69 in Indiana and Kentucky has been largely finished or is getting finished up. And these are all on those states' dollars. And the only thing a state gets out of it is they get federal funding for the maintenance, as far as I'm aware. Then I've been told there's a few other things. But usually, it's not worth the cost of upgrading to that point when you can have a state highway that serves their own interests by their own transportation or their own transportation doctrine. And you can save literally half the price tag. And literally have 5 mile an hour slower speed limit in many cases. That's very common. And I'm hoping with the Interstate 2 program, we can get some more funding going in there. But we haven't got there yet. That's part of that's for a bill another bill another day. Okay, finishing out. In 2002, when Fresno-based Regional Jobs Initiative, RJI, petitioned to have California 99 granted interstate status, RJI is a grassroots group of business and economic interests with a common mission of creating 30,000 new median-paying jobs over a 5-year period. I don't want to get into the details of that, and I do apologize if anyone feels like I was ranting and got off track. I meant to put all this in context because we're only going to be hitting this more and more and more as we get into each and every individual episode. And so I might actually have to be repeating this quite a bit. So, 3 times so far that we've considered putting this in. Largely, is that 2002 one, at least from what I understand, is that this was just an update saying, hey, there is business interest within the region that absolutely wants to have this done. We want it. Okay. Currently, discussions continue on elevating California 99 interstate status since there's already an Interstate 99 in Pennsylvania. We will be talking about that. Actually, this might be one of the last ones we do. The next best numbering would be Interstate 9, yada, yada, yada. For a route to be designated as part of the interstate highway system, the route must meet several basic criteria. 1. The corridor must serve long-distance interstate travel, connecting metropolitan areas and industrial centers that are important to defense and economic development. 2. The route must secure final environmental approval and not duplicate other interstate routes. That's the big one. Because this is largely a duplicate of Interstate 5. It's just in a different place. And the only place, or like the big deal that they're talking about as far as why Interstate 9 needs to be a thing, Fresno, Bakersfield, and a few other places that we'll talk about on the map as we get into it. 3. Routes must also directly serve major highway traffic generators and connect to the interstate system at each end. Check. The route must meet interstate highway standards or a formal agreement must be reached between the state and federal government to construct the route to such standards within 12 years. This one actually is way more problematic than a lot of people think, because what tends to happen, and we've actually seen this happen a couple times before, is that the feds and the state government will say, hey, look, we're going to make this an interstate. We'll update it within the next 12 years. And they've got this plan and budget to be finished up in like 7 or 8. But then there's a recession, or then there's some other damn thing that comes up on the radar for that state, and they have to divert funding in something, and they don't necessarily get it done. And the feds get really pissed. So we really largely haven't seen that. But very important. For a route to be designed as part of the... okay, we already hit that. Sorry about that. Next. California 99, which follows historic US 99, connects... Does it? Okay. Connects the major cities of Central Valley, including Bakersfield, including Bakersfield, Malaysia, Fresno, Merced, Madera. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing some of these, but my Spanish is terrible. Modesto, Manteca, Stockton, Lodi, and Sacramento. All these cities, excepting Stockton and Sacramento, are avoided by Interstate 5. That's a huge thing. Huge. You've got... the original criteria for anything getting an interstate was a city that had 50,000 people or more. It had to have an interstate. Not everything got that, but most of them did. Due to the age of California 99, the highway was built to interstate standards in newer sections, but older sections retained several deficiencies requiring improvement according to Caltrans, including 1. Lacking of vertical clearance of bridge and overhead ramp structures. I don't remember what we're at right now, but I think it's 16 and a half feet, but it might be as high as 20. I'll have to double check that. But the problem is the old standards, they've even gotten updated for the interstate system. 2, lack of shoulder width adjacent to the highway. This is huge. Most of California 99 it doesn't have a lot of shoulder, and if it is, it's small. This is massive. Number 3, insufficient median width. They want areas where there's a median inside as an undivided highway. Ironically now, because of how fast a lot of the vehicles are going, it's actually just better to have, from what I've seen, an interconnected highway with a bunch of beams through the middle of it. Or beams and concrete reinforcement in the middle. Or just to have it where you've still got one that keeps it out of the way. They've got rails. Basically, when you're going 70, 75 miles an hour, you've got a lot of kinetic energy behind you, and that's just vehicles. Don't even get me started on trucks. Number 4, interchange, spacement, and encroachment issues. We'll be getting this in the subcategories here, but the problem is that you have to have only a certain amount of interchanges every so far. You can't be having people get on and off, on and off, on and off. And if you are, it has to be within a city. Okay. In the resolution, Mays listed a variety of reasons why California 99 ought to be incorporated into the interstate highway system. Number 1, California 99 corridor has the largest urban area not in the interstate highway system, and Fresno is the largest city in the United States not serviced by an interstate highway. True. 2, the omission of highways in urban areas of the Central Valley from the interstate highway system cannot be justified and should be remedied. Okay. this gets into what I've talked about very, very much. It is better to build interstates and it is better to build freeways than almost anything else, because while they're expensive as holy hell on the upfront cost to your economy and to climate change, it is an absolute boon because people aren't starting and stopping, starting and stopping, starting and stopping. Every time that you do that, you waste time, you waste energy, you waste fuel, you waste everything. And you figure up all the math. And so one of the most crazy things that people do not understand is that the most expensive piece of infrastructure in modern America isn't a freeway. It's stoplights. Because at a hand, sure, they're not very expensive at all that. But every time that you have a car stop at that stoplight or that stop sign, more importantly, stoplight, that's money that's ticking away. That's time that's ticking away that could be used at other things. And that has a huge, exorbitant amount of cost. And the good news is traffic engineers are actually picking up on that, and they're really hammering their state and local governments and even the federal government to be like, no, the less you stop, the more rewarding it is for you and me. So, number 3, economic development along the California 99 corridor pursuant to studies have been long shown that economic development is enhanced in the areas that are close to interstate highways. I think everyone knows this. The Central Valley is one of the biggest or highest concentrations of unemployment in the United States, and upgrading the highway could enhance opportunities to promote employment and eliminate what has been a persistent problem in the agricultural region. True, but the problem is a lot of this is California labor laws. Just straight up. It is. Number 5. In a shot at Interstate 5, resolution states Interstate Highway 5 has been designated the NAFTA corridor, even though most of the trucks engaged in the international trade and commerce travel on State Highway Route 99. And truck cargo volumes on State Highway Route 99 exceed those of Interstate Highway 5 and among the highest in the entire nation. This is the only segment of the federal highway system that is with this level of traffic that is not within the interstate highway system. True, from what I understand. There's a lot actually that I can't qualify there, but if that is the case, holy shit. But also why? Okay. Number 6, an improved California 99 corridor would bring environmental benefits, including the reduction of truck and auto congestion, which in turn would lead to a reduction of air pollution, which is a severe problem throughout the Central Valley. Okay, even if you upgrade it to interstate, because it's all expressway anyway, you're going to have to make it where it can service more traffic. It's already 70-mile-an-hour zones. It's already expressway freeway status. This one actually bothers me a little bit. I don't think that's true by just changing the road signs and, expanding the lanes. You're going to actually have to put more lanes on if you're wanting to service this. And hell, Caltrans can't even get I-5 up to 4-lane on a lot of these places. So, yeah. Next. Vacationers and tourists to Yosemite, Sequoia, and the Kings Canyon National Parks, Kings Canyon National Parks generally use California 99 rather than Interstate 5 to reach their destinations, even though families prefer to travel to their destinations along interstate highways that are known to be twice as safe as other highways. Tourism would be enhanced if State Highway 99 is upgraded to Interstate Highway. There's a level where this is true and not. A lot of this has changed quite a bit with the rise of Google Maps, because Google Maps will tell you hey, take this route, it's way faster. And so people will take more back roads. Not saying they always will, but they have been, because Google Maps is usually correct almost down within 5 minutes, depending on how far of a trip that you're going into. So to a large degree, here's the problem. A lot of people are going to take 99 because it's a full freeway. And what most people will realize if you're driving through somewhere is that you're going to take roads that are either really well built out, really accessible, or that Google Maps tells you to do. And back before the days of Google Maps is that California 99 was still a high-density, highly well-known, highly used corridor. There's a lot of places like this, US 41 as an example, but in an overall sense is that there are not a few places that really that have this level of traffic and don't have the interstate. So I get where they're going with this, but there's a level where it doesn't matter. Finally, number 8. Literally, finally, the resolution indicates that the Central Valley is the most rapidly growing part of California and the most rapidly growing areas of the nation, and further demand will make all arguments for upgrading California State Highway Route 99 even more urgent. I didn't even talk about the pollution, but yes, absolutely helps. But yeah, they're going to have to upgrade this, and they're going to have to do more work with it, and they're going to have to do the same with I-5. Problem, California's strapped for cash because they have way too much on their damn plate, and they've got a social democracy on their hands. Good job, California. Personally, I'm just kind of waiting for California just to screw up and become the next Eastern Seaboard. I think that's going to happen. Because the Eastern Seaboard is actually starting to depopulate, and everyone's starting to move to other places that are more focused on getting goods and services here and there instead of actually providing them themselves. Okay. What's the route? The route's actually quite important here. Okay, so we talked about the south end there. That largely starts just south of Bakersfield. Let's bring this back up, please. So it splits off here. Anything's in purple is an expressway, and it will go up through McFarland, Delano, Tulare, Vistula. We talked quite a bit about a lot of these in the briefing. Well, Selma, Fresno, which is Fresno's pretty damn big. Like, a lot of people know where Fresno is. Merced, Turok, Modesto, and we get up to here at, I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah. Okay, so here's the problem. There are 3 proposals here. 3, right? And number 1 is that we get to Stockton here. And what they want to do is they want to make California 99 an interstate up to this interchange here in Stockton that ties into California's Route 4 that goes over here with Interstate 5. And so that it's a southern corridor route. Technically that's on paper, but there's more that's even on paper. And I'll suffice it to say that this is dumb as hell. Granted, if you're out of strap for cash, that's all you can do. Better than nothing. But you definitely want to, you definitely want to keep going. Because this is all built out expressway. It's not going to cost an incredible amount to super upgrade, right? Frontage road, 3 lanes on each side, asphalt. It's all ready to go. The only thing is you might have to widen lanes, in which case that's some serious money because this isn't built out to be that. It's very compact. And that's the problem with 99. In a nutshell, is that everything's compact. Now, granted, maybe it's time to change the interstate standards because, just give an example here, right? Undivided highway, and if you do have a divided highway, you're going to have railings in between it. So 70 miles an hour, you hit the railing, you've got regular terrain to slow you down. And that's what they want with California 99 that you will definitely not see here. The spacing's way too close. And that's what the feds want. So they're literally going to have to tear most of this road up, fix it up in a regard. And that's just maybe not worth Caltrain's money and time. It will help. But let's go for Route 2. Route 2 is that it will extend from Sacramento all the way up from Stockton all the way up to Sacramento, where it will interchange here with US 50. That is the part that makes a lot of sense for people, and that's where a lot of people expect this project to actually go. There is a problem here in a nutshell. Problem is that California 99 kind of ends here with Business 80, and it basically disappears, and you can't find it for a while. And that would be because it merges back in with I-5 here. Technically, this is not only Business 80 and US 50, it is also California 99. Now, I'll double check just in case, but that's pretty sure it, because this is I-80. So what it does is that it melds back into here, goes into I-5 outside of Sacramento, and then eventually splits off here on the northern side of town. That's a problem. Now, granted, it makes perfect sense to make everything up here interstate, and you can even warp Business 80 into part of that program. all the way up till where it splits. But you've got to figure out what you're going to do with it. The reality here, if California would want to do it, is that they would probably want to get in at some point here and split it off and let it keep going its own way and merge back in with California 99. Makes a lot of sense as far as upgrading, because at least a significant amount of the work is already done to get to Sacramento. But Route 3 is where it gets a lot more interesting. Having Route 9 or Interstate 9 and Interstate 5 blend together for a quick second, that doesn't hurt. But I will suffice it to say that California probably needs this northern part of Sacramento to be integrated, into an interstate, or into its own interstate. Not saying that has to be the case. You've got I-80 up here north, but if you wanted to keep it on this side of the American River, absolutely. But anyway, eventually what you can do is that this loses its expressway status just north of Sacramento, but California 99 does continue to go all the way up to Red Bluff. And that's absolutely a route that it can continue to take, because it still parallels I-5. It still gives another route that people can take, and it would be very rewarding for them to do so. Now, I personally think that you can run the 99 route, but it actually makes quite a bit of sense to instead upgrade California 70 to that, especially considering that most of that is better, or to a better quality, outside of going through Maysville here. For quite a bit of this is undivided highway. Options. You have options, but I would say that the final route that they want to take, if they are willing to take it, is they want to continue California 99 all the way up to at least Red Bluff, and I'd actually maybe even consider going as far as Redding. But yeah, tie it back in here, move it all there. You've got two major corridors that you can flood through on in through Central California, or particularly the California Valley. I'm going to say something really crazy here for a second, but maybe I-5 should have been moved. But that's a conversation for another day. But anyway, that is I-9, the I-9 project in a nutshell, where we're at. And so that gives you the route, where we're talking about, and you can see the problems with it. It's very much in the domestic California case. And so a lot of states probably aren't going to want to sign on with this compared to other projects. But I think for having almost 30 minutes of content here is that we've given you an idea of what's going on, why it's on a lot of people's radar, particularly for Caltrans, and what problems that are raised up. So the next video, we'll be counting up the numbers. The next video will be I-11, which technically is only this little skit, but we'll talk about its particular route and where it's going, and as far as where it's being planned. So I appreciate each and every one of you for watching and for being here. I know this may not be incredibly interesting for a lot of folks, but if you are interested in these very technical details about all these interstates getting built out, this is just one of the rest of the week. We're going to be doing I-11. We're going to be doing I-14, which just got greenlit. We'll probably be doing I-49, I-69, I-57. Like, literally, we have over a week's worth of content with this. So hopefully I don't bore everyone to shit. But without further ado, I really appreciate you all being here, and we'll catch you next time.